Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to this week's Productive Agent Podcast. My name is Tony Ruiz. I'm the founder and host of the Productive Agent Podcast, and today I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Mr. Shane Tokheim. What's up, man?
Hey, man. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. 2024,
Yeah.
2 days in.
Yeah.
How, are you on track? You're crushing it already?
You know what? No.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's day 2. You just pick up and keep going forward, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so why do you say no? I mean, but you've had the big move.
Yeah.
Talk to
I
me
got
about
a lot of personal stuff going on. I got professional stuff. The move, I tweaked my back. I shouldn't have ever touched anything like the plan was. And so, I was talking to our good buddy John Totten this morning, and when you wear several hats at a company or as an entrepreneur, it's hard to stay focused on what you're supposed to do, which is production for me. But it's not just production; it's also team leading and managing the branch and everything, ordering everything and furniture and every single thing. And inevitably, when you're moving, you forget some small things here and there. So now I'm in 2024 trying to catch up of what I forgot in the last couple of days in the move. And so anyway, that's my excuse, but yeah, I guess it's an okay one.
Well, I remember one of the first meetings we had together, we were talking about excuses.
Yeah.
And I kept on saying, you're like, yep, that's an excuse. Yep, that's an excuse. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was funny that you mentioned that because there are so many different hats that we all wear, right? And you have to make sure that you're trying to cover all the bases. And sometimes we get distracted by going, hey, we're doing this really well, but I'm not really focused on the production.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, that's the bread and butter right there. So we have to make sure to balance all of that and not get distracted and make sure that we're checking off all the boxes. So, well, cool. Well, hey, it's going to get better.
Yeah.
Right. We know what to do.
Yeah.
And we'll just,
we had an impromptu meeting with the escrow officers this morning, and it's amazing. Like, everybody thinks about different things. And so, inevitably one of them will say like, hey, what about this? I'm like, oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. But then we got to fix that and move on. But the reason I'm saying that is at the end of each, topic, I say, it'll solve that, more business. If you have enough business, everything else kind of goes away and looks small in comparison. So that's what we got to focus on, bringing in the business for everybody, like in both of our worlds. So that's what we got to do.
For sure. So we're going to do a little reflection on 2023, and then we're going to talk a little bit about, what we're doing for 2024 and going forward. So I'll ask you a few questions. I got my answers here as well that I'll share. But let's start off with what went well in 2023. And
everything is so cyclical. 2023 obviously was one of the strangest markets that I've ever seen in my whole 22-year career. Up and down and up and down. Well, really not, just like very up and then very down.
Yeah.
But a lot of things went well. I mean, the accountability groups are fantastic. I really think everybody, benefited and got improvement. And that's all you can do is improve every day. And when I'm doing that, for whatever reason, probably because I'm leading by example, I'm more structured and I'm setting daily goals more. And so the first 9 months went really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then everything kind of slows down.
It did.
Yeah, for sure. And that happens. Something that went really well for me was my health and fitness. I've been doing this for about 2 years, pretty much every single day. It's like the first thing I do. I only missed 31 days. I know you probably missed less than that.
Yeah.
But you were kind of sick too, so who knows? But yeah, I worked out every single day except for 31 days. And I go, 31 days, that's an entire month I miss.
Yeah.
So that's one way to think about it. But the other way to think about it is I worked out 334 days.
Yeah.
And
how many people do you think did that? Not very many.
Not very many at all. Right. So, and it's just, what's really cool about it is obviously you see the physical difference but you feel stronger. All right. And then your confidence is more up and it affects everything about what you are as a person.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy with that. I really want to continue that. Going forward. I'm doing 75 hard again, which I did last year. And I have to go walk in this crappy weather here in a little bit. But, it's part of the routine and it's part of the the discipline, and that's I'll get to that later. But that's my word for 2024 is just to be disciplined.
Discipline.
Just like this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Stop making excuses. Focus in.
Yeah. So, I like it. I think I told you about my buddy Hammer, who you know pretty well now. He's a little bit older than me, so he's anyway. It doesn't really matter about age, but he's gotten a little overweight, right?
That's right.
So I worry about people, and I worry about him. He was one of my best friends, and I told him, like, dude, like, when's the last time you worked out, or how much do you weigh? and so I was trying to coax him into having a bet with me, and so we lay down the bet and everything, and the parameters, and what goals you have to reach. And so he was going to lose like 25 pounds to my 17 because body percentage.
Yeah.
And so we go 5 days in, and I weighed 189, and then, you know how I am. In 5 days, I've already lost 9 pounds. And so I'm texting him, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not going to do it." I'm like, "What?" So anyway, I've already started.
Yeah.
So I weighed 189, and I get down to 173, like in a month and a week.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, God, it's so easy when you put your mind to it, focus, and you have these goals. Oh, I was basically losing like a half a pound every day. And then the goal was by January 1st, I get to 172. So I get within a pound and I stop. And now I weigh 180 again.
Why'd you stop?
I think because there was no bet and no motivation and no, nothing. And I know Hammer wants to start in January, so we're going to start now in January.
You should contact Bobby. I was just talking to him today,
Yeah.
and we were talking on how business is going and things that we're working on, and he was talking about how he's working to lose weight and wants to trim down and all that. So you should. I'm sure Bobby will challenge you.
Oh, for sure. He's like,
yeah.
Any challenge.
Challenge
oh,
right there.
God, yeah. He's very competitive. He won't lose.
Yeah. Another thing that I was really happy with that went well for me was the podcasting and the interview skills. Was able to interview a decent amount of people. And it went really well when I focused on it and planned it and executed. And then it just kind of dropped off.
Yeah.
We haven't done one of these podcasts in a few weeks and this and that. But so it went well, and I learned some things, and it got pretty good. And I just want to like take that to the next level, right? So I'm looking to incorporate some AI tools to help, navigate chopping these episodes up, and it's going to really help promote it. So that's the key for 2024. And then something that I really learned through 75 Hard, because you have to do the reading and the walking and all that, is scheduling. And we've talked about this before, but it's just like sitting down. It took me less than 10 minutes yesterday. And of course, I know I should have done it the day before, right? But it took me less than 10 minutes as I was cooling off before I hopped in the shower. And I just laid out my entire day, by blocks. And going, I'm doing this. Here's my lunchtime. Here's my dinner time. Where am I going to walk? Where am I going to read? And then I plugged in all of my work blocks. And it just really helps. And I definitely notice a difference in my production level when it's not planned, when it's not scheduled.
For sure.
I could go back on my calendar. It's like, well, this was empty and I probably didn't do very much that week. So that was huge. And then I did attend my first EXPCon this past year. And it was really cool to be surrounded by so many like-minded, driven people.
Yeah.
And it's like, I really want to continue that. So that's something that went well. Anything else that you want to talk about that went well?
I think what I'm going to say applies to the not going well.
Okay. well, let's get into it. Good segue there. Wow. What didn't go well? Go ahead. Start.
Again, I was talking to John this morning, and I think you remember at one point, like 3 years ago, and I was at a different title company. I set my mind to being number one in the country.
Yeah.
And I was so dedicated to that goal that I went from 2 appointments a day to 3, and I was literally like religiously. I'd show everybody my calendar. I had the times of my appointments that I needed, 3 a day, highlighted through the whole year. And if I didn't have those 3 spots filled, I mean, there wasn't a choice. I just filled them with anyone, like anybody that could send me business, whether it was like you several times a week. But anyway, I had to have somebody in those blanks, 3 a day.
How far in advance did you do that? Did you do it?
Not that far.
Like a few days, a week in advance?
A week in advance at the most. I don't like to go too far out.
Yeah.
I think you get more cancellations if you go too far out.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I was so focused on those 3 blanks every day to be filled. I'd look at my calendar. I'd show everybody my calendar. Look at my calendar. Look at my calendar. And so it's like what you were just saying. It's planned out.
Yeah.
And if your activity is planned out, you're so much more likely to do it. And then when you do it, your results can't be denied. You're just going to be. You can't help but be productive because you're doing the activities. And if you do the activities, you're going. So what went bad for me, as I stated, 8 or 9 months was good. In the last few months, I wasn't doing that at all. Like I had no appointments. I didn't care to for some. I don't know. I had lost my motivation to meet with a lot of people for some reason. And so now I got to get that back. And so now I'm going to start in 2024 and highlight those same 8:30, 11:30, 2 o'clock and make sure that I fill those with agents and be talking to agents or lenders, producers.
Yeah.
And so have appointments, and if everybody did that, they'd be very productive.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that Patrick Bean is working on right now. He's been doing a lot of coffee dates or coffee appointments just with people of his past. And I mean, he's generating so much business. I know it hasn't come to fruition yet. I'm like, dude, you're crushing it. Like it's going to happen for you. So that went really well. Something I'm glad that we're sort of on the same page, and maybe that says something about us hanging out all the time. But distractions.
Yeah.
You talked about it, personal life distractions, business life distractions, the phone going off distractions, anything. Sometimes it's just me and you shooting the shit. It's like, hey man, I got to go do work. Let me close the door and let's get down to business, right? So that's something that didn't go quite as well. I'm still able to do well. It was overall a good year. But I know that we can improve on that. Consistency, like you said, when I was really consistent with the podcast and posting the shorts and doing all that, I saw those numbers climb. And I was like, wow, that's evident, right? That I'm being consistent with that. And then guess what? When you stop being consistent, the numbers go down. And I was reading Winning by Tim Grover this morning. And bottom line, he goes, winning doesn't lie. It's based off of results. It's just, did you win or not? What are your numbers at? What does your bank account look like? All these things. It's going to tell you the truth. So that kind of really hit home. And then, my drive. There's times where my drive was really high and like, let's go, let's kick butt. And then there's times like,
my drive is never down. It's just focused on something. Like it's been poker, it's golf, a lot. And you know what? That's okay sometimes. I want to be good at golf. I want to be good at poker, but I want to be productive.
Right.
I was talking to, I also taught, but Kirsten in my office. And, when I met you in 2019, I'm sure one of the very first things I told you is I read 52 books a year, right? So in 2019, I had an Excel spreadsheet with every book that I read, with the author and notes about the book. And I read 52 books. The next year, say 2020, I had the same, just not the notes about the book, but I had the book and the author, and they're numbered 1 through 52. And I read 52 books. The next year I read 48. And once I did 48 and not 52, I was like, nobody really cares if I read 52 books or not, and so why do I? The next year I might have read 40, 40 something. But then as it goes, then this in 2023, I don't know. I never made an Excel spreadsheet. I don't know what books I read, and therefore I don't know how many I read, but it wasn't 52. I can guarantee that. Probably wasn't even 20. Right. So what do you think I did today? I made a list with 24 blanks. I think 2 a month is okay. It's not 52, but so anyway, I'm going to forecast, or I'm gonna write them down before I read them, and then check them off as I read them. And I think you're a lot more likely to do it then. Just like you are, if you make your appointments ahead of time, you should know what you're going to be reading tomorrow or today.
When is that list going to be done?
It's the first book's on there. It's the Miracle Morning redone.
Okay.
So yeah, he redid it. It's thicker and it's
really.
Okay. I have 20 copies on my desk right now.
Okay.
and it's yellow instead of white, and it's a lot thicker. So I don't.
So when you finish that list, I would love to see it, and then we could share it on social media.
I want you to add to it, or everybody.
Yeah.
You know, if you know a book that I need to read.
Yeah.
Kirsten sent me a list today, and I was shocked to see. I think it was only like 30 books, and I hadn't read like most of them.
Yeah.
So that would look like a good list.
There's a lot of great books.
But I'm gonna have Joanne and Kirsten do it too. I sent them both that same list with the one book on it, and I want them to fill it in.
I like it.
Yeah.
My next book is Raving Fans. I'm
Yeah,
excited
that's a
about
good
that
one.
one. It's real short.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Real short.
But I'm sure it's great.
It's good.
Packed with stuff.
Yeah.
And then one more. What is it? Ed Milet. That's
Power of One More.
Yeah, The Power of One More.
Yeah.
That's
a good one.
Those are my next two books.
Yeah.
But I like that. So what do you think? Because I was thinking this when you said that. You started 52, then 48, then 40, then I don't know.
Yeah.
What happened? Well, what happened in 2023 that kind of made you stop reading?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but just the newness maybe wore off. And I read so many books. I felt like I read them all, you know, and then, I look and I ask like, hey, who has a good book, and
You're like, I've read that one.
yeah. So just, I don't know, but I feel a little more rejuvenated or re-excited about it, so hopefully I can at least read 24 and be excited about it.
When does your book come out?
Yeah, and I have another person that asks me like every week, but it's not even close.
That's all right. You just chip away.
Yeah.
Keep chipping away. Let's see. So we went through what didn't go well. Was there anything else that you wanted to add? Or does that pretty much cover it?
Yeah, this move, and now that we're in my new building, I'm so excited. It's very, very nice and such a step up. Nothing against the old one, but it's the nicest building I've ever been in my whole career. And so I'm excited about that. And so now I don't know why, but we were only supposed to be in that temporary space for 3 months, and it took a year to negotiate the lease and the build out and all of that. It's a long time, and you almost feel like you're in like on pause. We'd all be saying like, oh, well, when we get to the new building, we'll do this, and we get to so now we're there, and it's a new year.
Yeah.
And the text I sent out, I think last week said like, new space, new year, new goals, let's go. I mean, so let's go.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love it. This kind of ties in. I think we've touched on this, but the next one is, what did you learn? I have consistency matters. All right. To where when I was really consistent with the podcast stuff, the numbers went up, and it went the same thing with my business.
Yeah.
Right. And then you can't take your foot off the gas.
Yeah.
And I think us as realtors do that a lot.
Absolutely.
And that's why we see this up and down. And I was asked a lot this year from people outside the business, like, oh, how's business? Like, it's pretty rough, isn't it? And my answer is always this. Now, I've only been doing this for 5 years, right? But I don't feel like my business has been dictated by the market. It's been dictated by me.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what it is, and I think that's why we saw so many realtors come into the business when things were booming. Like, everybody can sell when things are booming, right? People are calling and all that. But now it's more balanced out, right? It's back to kind of when I started in 2019. From what I remember, it's more balanced. And I just feel like my market share and all that, my business is really gone up and down based off of my productivity, and not necessarily like, oh man, I'm working really hard, but the market's so bad that I can't do anything about it. It's really what you put in is what you get out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
There's a statistic. I think it's 6%. 6% of your database is going to move.
Yeah.
And they're going to move regardless. That some people, they have to move. Yeah. It might be less because of the interest rates. It might be a little bit, but some people still have to. So maybe it's 5%. So instead of 100 people, now you need 300 people. But that's not hard to do. You probably already have that.
Yeah.
So if 3% of 5% of 300 move, that's 15. So that's a little bit more than one a month, which that's not good enough, but it's not bad,
right. All right. You could get by.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
So but then you just need to make sure that you are the one that those people use by being top of mind.
Yeah. Rent is due every day. I think I read that.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I was listening to Ed Milet. He has a special podcast that he just posted. That was like a collection of all of his interviews from the past year. really, really good. Troy Aikman's on there.
Oh, really?
A bunch of different, you should listen to it.
Yeah.
But then, man, time goes by so
Yeah.
fast. And in the book there, I was reading Winning, he talked about it. He goes, we all think that we have a lot more time than we do, and we just simply don't.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, let's go, let's get on it. But, you know, win the day, making sure each day counts. I just can't believe 2023 passed.
Yeah.
Like, it just went by
Yeah.
super fast.
Yep.
And the same thing's going to happen in
Yeah.
2024. It's probably going to speed up, honestly.
Yeah. You know what's something I think I've learned, but not for myself. I've known this to some extent. Like, learning is great, but you already know what to do.
Yeah.
Stop trying to learn all the time and just do what you know is right.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do. You know, keep doing what you know you're supposed to do. Stop going to lunch or to seminars or to, you know, some stuff that doesn't really make any difference in your life.
Yeah.
Right? If you go to a 3-hour seminar that, yeah, maybe you pull out one nugget, but what if you spent 3 hours making phone calls or meeting face to face or, you know, having a meaningful lunch or, you know, something
Yeah.
that's going to drive your business more. And in 3 hours, you can call a hell of a lot of people,
Yeah.
you know, and I don't know. I mean, I say that to a lot of people and I get it. I guess you're trying to learn, but are you trying to learn or are you just trying to like say you did something? You know what I mean? I just,
And it's great to learn, but what are you going to implement?
Yeah.
You know, what are you going to
Exactly.
Implementation's all about action.
yeah. And we always say, it was good, but it's the same thing I already heard the last time. It was good.
Yeah.
You put it in a different way, but it's still the same thing we heard last time because it always is.
Yeah. I'm trying to just focus on like 3 or 4 things a day.
Yeah.
You know, one of them being real estate reviews, one of them, you know, visiting my database management, you know, like keeping it simple
Yeah.
and just like those things have to get done. And then I am going back into the open house thing. In 2020, I started with 6 weeks in a row. The first 6 weeks I did open houses and it really kind of business took off, you know, from that.
In what year?
2020.
Oh,
So right out of 2019, I was doing open houses, right? And then in 2020, I was like, okay, I figured this out. You know, I'm just going to do 6 in a row and got my first listing back then. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. So I've kind of challenged Patrick as well. I was like, we're going to do open house every single weekend. You know, no excuses. I kept on making an excuse that like I had my daughter and this and that. But come to find out, I just take her to dance class because she has dance every Saturday. So it's like, well, if she's at dance, then I should go do an open house, you know, and knock that out. So that's the plan. So we're going to implement that. So plans for 2024. I think we kind of covered most of this.
Yeah.
I recently started our little team meeting. We're going to meet at your place tomorrow at 10 a.m. And that's gone really well. And I'm really excited about it. I've seen the increase in productivity from really every member in there. And it's just good energy when we get like-minded people around pushing each other. And I know they're excited to start that back up. So we're going to continue that and hopefully grow that. That'd be cool. Using AI, committing to AI and making sure that, because it takes so much time to put this podcast together and post it, but then to go chop it up and to get blasted into TikTok and Reels and all that. But AI can help with that. You know, so it's like, okay, I think I could pay $10, $15 a month to let that thing go. Again, discipline is my word. And I'm really disciplined in certain areas, and then I'm not in the areas that really matter the most as far as production. So that's what I'm focusing on. And I'll tell you what, it's only day 2, but sometimes that shit's hard. It's like, no, like put the shit down, turn off the TV and like focus and work. Getting back to what works, filling out the greatness tracker, doing open houses and stop making excuses.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, we've had a lot of distractions this past year, a lot of different excuses. The market's bad, personal life is crazy, whatever, you know, and like all of that just has to go.
Yeah.
You know, just like, okay, you know what to do.
Yep.
I'll just go do it.
Yeah.
So anything?
Yeah. So I had an impromptu meeting with my staff. Well, 3 of the escrow officers, the team leaders. I'm gonna say I need to have more meetings with them, but we all agreed that we are going to track our prospective customers and our current customers. We're going to update that list weekly, but add to it daily. So you can write on it, but not type it. So on Mondays, you type it out and print it out and go over it. And we all agreed we're all going to hold each other accountable, which I love. I've never said that to escrow officers before.
Yeah.
They've never had.
I was going to say, have you ever done anything like that?
They haven't. I have with sales. That's typically a sales role.
Okay.
Right. So, and that's what they said, like, well, that's typically sales. I'm like, yeah, typically it is. But the market is the market and we need to do this.
Yeah.
So that's going to be, I think, fantastic. But I'm going to be having to hold them accountable, which I'm fine with. I just expect to go by their office. I'm going to send this to them so they can see. Go by their office every Monday morning, say, you got your list printed out? Yes or no? Yeah. And then did you add to it? Yes or no?
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you just make a list, as you know, what good is that?
Yeah.
Nothing, right? If you don't do something with that list, nothing's going to happen. So we got to also implement what we're going to do. Yeah. Send out 2 thank you cards, send out 10 texts, whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to have to do that. So we're going to do that. Also putting in place another sales rep, and so that means hiring another staff member. And so then when I have 2 sales reps now, then I'm going to hold them both accountable, and they'll probably hold me accountable in the process, right? Yeah. Of everything that I just said the escrow officers are going to do. They're going to do just way more of it, right? So I want to see their daily calendars for the week.
Are y'all listening?
Yeah, exactly. And I want that planned out. Just like I do when I'm at my highest production level, it's when I have it planned out.
Yeah.
And so that's what they're going to do too. And then I want to see it. I want to see it weekly.
Yeah.
So I'll see like who you're planning to meet with. And then on Monday morning, you'll tell me, did you actually meet with them or didn't you? Did they cancel? Whatever. And then who do you plan to meet with this week?
Yeah.
So those things I think are going to help us grow enormously.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, just doing those things and checking in weekly is going to drive the production.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so excited to get these team meetings back going. Obviously, we missed Monday because it was a holiday, but we were like, well, it doesn't have to only be Mondays. Like, so we're meeting on Wednesday this week, and then we'll jump back to Mondays. Yeah. And it's just having camaraderie too.
Yes, I was just going to say that.
And it's just like, man,
like the escrow officers can get together because they're scared of, not scared, but they're not used to. Yeah. So they can say like, what should I say? And then they can all do it, and so it'll help everybody and camaraderie.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's things that like Christina will say that I'm like, oh, that's really
that's good. Yeah.
And then Patrick even is like, he hasn't done a deal yet, but it's like, dude, that's a brilliant idea. Yeah, we should all be doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's good stuff, man. You got anything else? I covered all my points.
Yeah, I'm good. I just, consistency for sure.
No excuses.
No excuses. And planning. I think planning, your week and your day is so important, but also consistently planning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't get lazy.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, guys, that's the show. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed it. It was good to get back in here and do this together. Share the show with a friend. That really helps us grow the show. Give us a review, give us a rating. That helps as well. You can join our private Facebook group called The Productive Agent. And make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We thank you for joining us today. Now let's get out there and go produce.